I want you to identify your personal why, and you'll understand that in a minute as I share my story. Why you do what you do, so that what you do and how to do it becomes clear. And I want you to realize what it means to really live, free of bondage, fear, self-doubt, worry, and anxiety, and that you were intended to live a life determined by and based only on your choosing, that you participate. We need to develop a warrior ethos with the skills required to adjust and overcome adverse misfortune. Life is not about what happens to us, it's about how we deal with what happens to us. And I hope you'll agree in a few minutes. We need to know how to attract the right people at the right time for the right reasons to build and sustain a winning team. Talking to Ahmed before, he just came from Tom King, and now he's working at BIBF. And I said, "What's your secret to significance, sir?" And he's a very deep-thinking man with that big smile, and he says, "I make sure I go through that interview process meticulously so I choose the right person and put him or her in the right place at the right time." So this particular deal, know how to attract the right people at the right time for the right reasons to build and sustain a winning team is very, very significant. We need to embrace diversity to establish an inclusive organizational culture that values a passionate blend of different races, genders, talents, skill sets, fields of knowledge, ages, and levels of experience. My experience now and my observation in the Gulf region, Bahrain, you lead the way in diversity. You lead the way in inviting so many different cultures into your culture and inspiring one another with the belief that when the water in the lake goes up, all the boats rise together. Congratulations on Tamkeen and figuring out a way to not just train but educate through this experience all Bahrainians so that they become the employees of choice. And you participate collectively in this growth of your economy and growth of your history. Yeah, those are pictures of me. Let me share my story. Any of you seen American football on television? Is that not the craziest game you've ever seen in your life? We put on all these pads, and then somebody blows a whistle, and we run into each other as hard as we can. And then we stop the action, which is kind of unsettling to those of you who are World Cup soccer fans. It never stops, but we have to stop and catch our breath, huddle up, figure out who we're going to run into next. Total brain damage, if you ask me. I played American football for 13 years. That's a major chunk of my life. My dreams of playing professional football were coming true, and one day in practice, we had a tackling drill. Coach blew a whistle. There was a group of us divided in half, and one group was 15 yards away from my group. I'm in the front of the line, getting all excited to go to battle. Guy on that side, and in front of that line, he's excited to run into me. The coach blows the whistle, and we run into each other full speed, 15 yards apart from here to the camera. We had a brutal head-on collision. My shoulder slammed into his shoulder, our heads hit, and we fell to the ground. When he got off of me, my eye drooped. I had loss of speech. I couldn't talk anymore. My right side was paralyzed. My arm dangled helplessly at my side. Coach comes running over. Clark, you all right? What happened? Said, "Whoa, you from New Jersey?" Said, "Whoa, you better just lay there." I said, "Whoa." A doctor that was present on the field, he came over and he examined me. He pulls the coach aside. He says, "Clark's got serious nerve damage. In fact, he might even have serious brain damage." Coach looks at him and says, "How will we ever know?" Nice guy. Finally, my eye went back to normal. My speech came back. I could basically talk again. But my right side stayed paralyzed. My arm just dangled there. I talked to it and it wouldn't move. Scared me to death. I stayed paralyzed for 14 months, over a year. I went to 16 of the very, very best doctors in all of North America, and every single one of them told me I would never get any better. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever felt that in your life? You don't have to raise your hands, but have any of you ever felt alone in a crowded room? Have any of you ever felt lonely in a loved one's arms? I have. Have any of you come to work and felt like no one notices? What about me? I'm doing a great job and no one says anything because they're so busy doing their job that no one ever takes the time to stop, pause, and say, wait a minute. What you're doing really matters? I have. And I was paralyzed for 14 months, and as I hit rock bottom, I lost my identity. And how did that happen? I confused who I was with what I did. Have any of you? You see, I thought I was a football player when in reality that's just what I did. It's not who I am as a man. And when we identify ourselves in terms of what we do instead of who we are, we become a human doing instead of a human being. Unacceptable of significance is what we seek. If we want to start talking about relationship development, let's just talk about sales. It's everybody's business. Do you agree with me that people buy people? We don't buy products, people buy people. How many of you work in a bank? You can raise your hands. This is okay. We can start to communicate. Give me a reason to walk past your competitive banks to do business with you. Because you all have the same products, and you all have the same interest rates, and you all have the same documents and the same promises. So at the end of the day, I'm not just going to stop at the first bank I come to. I want some person to take a serious interest in who I am to give me that personal touch. And that relationship management process applies to every aspect of our lives, professionally and personally. The thing I'm most proud of in my little video introduction is the last slide, the picture where it says, I was Father of the Year. Because last year I spoke 202 times, all 50 states and 21 countries. I love to travel the world. I love meeting people like you and coming to different cultures and visiting beautiful countries like Bahrain. But at the end of the day, no other success, no other significant part of our lives can compensate for failure in the home. So today is a unique approach to leadership because what I am suggesting is that at the end of the day, it's not about what we do after all. It's about who we do it with, why we do it. How did I come up with this philosophy? I stayed paralyzed for 14 months and I hit rock bottom. And when I hit rock bottom, I thought I was depressed. And have you ever felt like you're depressed? What happens when we think we're depressed? We are. If I'm going too fast, let's just raise our hands. And when we think we're depressed, we don't move. We're immobilized. You know what I discovered when I was rock bottom? There's a giant difference between being depressed and being disappointed. Huge difference between being depressed and being discouraged. And there are people in our cultures, people in our countries who have a chemical imbalance, and yes, they need medication from a great physician. And they need non-judgmental friendship and unconditional love. Let us help you. Let us get you the help that you need. But most people in every country on our planet, most people are not depressed. We just use that word, I'm depressed. Have any of you ever had a loved one pass away? A father, a mother, a brother, a sister, a spouse, a significant other die? That doesn't depress us. We have a right to be sad. We have a right to mourn their death. But we don't need medication because suddenly we're depressed. Have any of you ever lost a job or gone through a separation with someone that you thought you loved? That's not depressing. That's disappointing. That's discouraging. We don't need medication for that. And as I hit rock bottom, what allowed me to get back up and go again? the understanding of one particular powerful word, which is at the heart and soul of everything we're going to talk about today. You see, I stayed paralyzed for 14 months because I was asking the wrong questions. I was asking the doctors how to get better when I should have been asking myself, why? Once we answer why, figuring out the how to is pretty simple. Why are you here on earth? Pretty deep. Why are you married to him or her? Why are you working in your specific job, in your specific industry, in your specific building? Why? And once we answer why, figuring out the how-to is pretty simple.